we were pretty astonished to see some very critical commentary of President Joe Biden based on some new poll numbers over on CNN from Jake Tapper, who really did not pull any punches here. Take a listen to what he had to say about these new poll results.
And we're back with our 2024 lead. Horrible news. Horrible for Joe Biden in our new CNN poll. While the president leads his Democratic competitors by a huge margin, 2/3 of all of the American people surveyed, 66% of the public, say that a Biden victory would either be a setback or a disaster. David, when it comes to how voters see Joe Biden and another presidential term, I mean, those are some bad numbers.
Well, I mean, just your basic favorability, favorable opinion or unfavorable opinion of Joe Biden. Look at how Americans are rating him, Jake. I mean, 35% favorable. That is remarkably low. 57% have an unfavorable rating. But look at this decline among independents from December. 35% favorable rating in December. He's now down at 26% favorable with independents, critical voters in the electorate, Jake. That's a big warning sign.
And David, how do Biden's numbers here compare to those of the Republican frontrunner Donald Trump?
Right. Well, you hear Joe Biden say all the time, compare him to the alternative, not the almighty. And basically, they're both not looking good, Jake.
They're both basically equivalent there, Trump and Biden's favorabilities. And I think this is a hard thing for Democrats to reckon with because we understand the very negative emotions that a lot of people have about Donald, a majority of people have about Donald Trump and feel it would be a disaster for him to be back in the White House. How do you grapple with the fact that people feel a lot of the same ways and a lot of the same numbers about Joe Biden? So to hear this laid down so starkly on CNN was really something. I mean, just to go over some of those numbers again, 41% of Americans believe it would be a disaster if Biden won in 2024. 26% said it would be a setback. Meanwhile, very similar numbers for Trump. A little bit more, 44% say a victory for Trump would be a disaster. 12%, so lower numbers, say it would be a setback, showing the sort of like, you know, with Biden, people feel a little less strongly about him in either direction. But the fact that we have these two guys that overwhelming majority of Americans do not want, that a plurality say this would be a disaster if they got back in there, and this is what we're likely to face in 2024. Yeah, we talked about like the decline of culture in our Chat GPT segment. This is as stark a sign of the decline of this country as I can imagine.
Oh, absolutely. And it's reflected in the poll. Put that up there on the screen where you can see in the Democratic primary, Biden has only got 60% of the people who are affirmatively voting for him. RFK Jr. is at 20%. Marianne Williamson is at 8%. Someone else also at 8%. I mean, look, that's powerful stuff. And actually, that puts Biden right around where Jimmy Carter ended up in 1980. Now, I think he's probably better off because Trump also has such high negative ratings, but it really reveals to you, like in an alternative universe where the GOP has not twisted itself into knots. I mean, it's the easiest layup election really of all time. Like if they were able to pull themselves out of it, they could have, and if they had some Reagan-esque type figure, or Glenn, I mean, I honestly think like Glenn Youngkin, somebody like very milquetoast or anything, could get like 54, 55% of the vote easily by just being like, I'm not crazy. And I don't like that guy. And neither do you. Everyone will be like, okay, sure, I absolutely. And that's one of those where the GOP, though, always finds a way to shoot themselves in the foot. Obama, you know, he wasn't as weak as Biden, but he was pretty weak, I think, going into 2012, which they acknowledged. They were actually somewhat afraid. Then Romney got elected. They're like, oh, we got this. This is easy.
To their credit, though, they also ran a very effective campaign.
Absolutely.
Against
Brutalized.
Romney, brutally, like, you know, set the stage early for the caricature of him that they wanted to prosecute. He stepped in it with his, like, infamous 47% comments. But, you know, I just think also one thing I have to quibble with in terms of the Jake Tapper commentary is he goes out of his way to be like, oh, he's very, very far ahead of his primary opponents. And it's like, yes and no. I mean, you're the sitting incumbent president, and you're only getting 60% of the vote. And those numbers are not all that different from what Trump is garnering in the Republican primary. And you wouldn't go out of your way to be like, he's very far ahead and he doesn't have any, you know, any challenge whatsoever in the GOP primary. So, and this is with, you know, the media completely shutting out both RFK and Marianne, and doing everything they can to try to convince the public, like, oh, he's got no serious primary contender. He's practically the nominee already. Like, it's just, you know, a matter of time and he's going to be anointed, and no one real has stepped up against him. Clearly, there is a real hunger for there to be some alternative to him. And maybe the most stark numbers that I've seen recently is that you have an actual majority. It's 50-50 that think that Biden will even be the Democratic nominee, which shows you the lack of confidence that even Democratic voters, and certainly the electorate overall, has in the current president. So, you know, it's a grim landscape. Neither of these dudes, as we've talked about too, have any intention of debating. Like, you know, the political calculus for them is that they're not going to pay a price if they don't actually engage in democratic process, and it's just very sad. So it was kind of nice to see a little bit of unvarnished truth there slip through on CNN.
Every once in a while, the truth actually breaks out.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us. And if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.